My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Overlord. And this will be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, then come back and watch this review because I will be going in depth. Now, ever since I saw this movie for the first time in November of 2018, I've loved it. And I never felt like it got the proper recognition that it deserves because the majority of people haven't even heard of it. And I think that's a real shame, but I still believe that this movie is destined to become a cult classic. And I think the main reason why is that you've got yourself this great premise and the fact that this movie takes itself very seriously. It's not trying to be a cult classic. It's going to come very natural. Like if you look at a movie like Willy's Wonderland, where Nicolas Cage is fighting evil animatronics, that movie is trying way too hard the entire time and none of it works. And that's not the case here. You got a movie that it feels a bit more grounded, it takes itself seriously, so that allows you to get invested in everything going on. And I love the fact that this movie is a war horror movie. Like, I can't think of any other war horror movies we get. So this movie stands out on that alone because it's just something so unique and original. Like if you want to make horror movies more memorable, you should combine them with different genres. Like I've always felt like we need Western horror movies. And we don't get any, and that's a real shame. So the fact we got a war horror movie here is just fantastic. And when this movie starts off as a war movie, it's a really great war movie. It's tense, it's thrilling, it's really well shot, it's got this retro vibe to begin with that I really dug, and then the movie slowly transitions into a horror movie as it progresses, and that approach was the perfect one, and all the horror elements really worked for me. Like, there's a section of this movie where it feels like you're making your way through a haunted house, and I love that. And there's lots of gross moments here, but my favorite is when he hears someone talking, so he goes to investigate, and it turns out it's just a severed head, and I love that. And then he takes the serum, and he gives it to someone who died, and the guy comes back to life, and he becomes stronger, but then just second by second he's losing control, his body is moving in ways he didn't intend on it being, and you just feel like this is a fate worse than death. And just the way his body moves in this moment, it's some really great body horror, but man, is it gross. Like, you feel it, you see it, and you hear it in the way his bones are snapping, and the way his bones are coming out. It's just so gross. It makes you think about your own mortality and like the fact like I got a collarbone sticking out or my Adam's apple. It really gets under my skin. So I love all that a lot, and I just love how the plot evolves. Like it starts off on the plane, then you've got this great sequence where the main character falls from the plane, and then he gathers up with everyone else. They make their way through this field where there's mines everywhere, so they have to be careful. Then they meet this woman who takes them in. Then the bad guys come into her house, so they have to hide. And then they take the other bad guy captive. And then the one guy makes his way through the base. And then he comes back and there's a torture scene. And then the bad guy escapes and there's a big action moment. And then we get the climax. So there's always something happening. The movie is always moving, so it doesn't become stagnant, and I love that. It just makes it all the more entertaining, and this movie just flies by. And I also think this movie is incredibly well directed by Julius Avery. I think he brings a lot of style to this movie to begin with. It looks great, it sounds great, the movie is just very competently made, it's tense and thrilling when needed. He just excels in everything he needed to do for this movie. And I also love how there's an aspect of the plot about trying to hold on to your humanity during war. Like the main character was drafted. He's never been in war before. And he knows he has to do stuff he doesn't want to do. While he's just more experienced people willing to go to those places. And there's just this parallel, I think, between how people have to act in war, how they have to become monsters, and the serum that actually creates monsters. And if you look at the movie through that lens, I think it explores those ideas very well. And I do think the cast does a good job. You've got yourself Javan Adipo, who I haven't seen in anything since, but I think he does a really good job in this movie. He's the heart and soul of it. You've got Wyatt Russell, who I think gives a great pulpy performance here. You've also got Misaid Olivio, who I think is really great as well. You've got Pyro Isabok, who I definitely mispronounced his name, but I think he does a fantastic job as the villain. And I love how they set up this villain in a way that he's going to want revenge against Wyatt Russell's character later on, so in the final fight, the stakes and the tension are even higher than they would have been. You've also got John McGrew, who I think does a good job, Ian DeCastico, who's really good, and Jacob Anderson and Dominic Applewhite. So the entire cast, I wouldn't say anyone does an exceptional job, but everyone does a perfectly fine job at what they're given to work with. I do wish they maybe wrote the characters a bit better, that they had a bit more to do, that maybe there was a bit more emotion, but that's as negative as I can get on this movie. It's a movie I absolutely love. I think it's a great war movie, I think it's a great horror movie, and the fact that it's both of those things just really allow it to stand out. I think it's incredibly well made, it's tense, it's thrilling, and I just have a total blast watching it. I can't recommend it enough. I'm gonna go ahead and give Overlord an 8.5 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Overlord? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin